Welcome to Beyond Perception. I'm Simon, and my guest today is Stan Berteloot, a multicultural marketing communications executive with over 20 years of experience. Welcome, Stan.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Simon.
Likewise, both of us just recently connected through a friend, and we had some initial conversations which were really insightful and we thought, let's continue them. Here's a podcast. And
Well, thank you for inviting me. Yes, it was a pleasure speaking with you. We both know Barry, and I think we've got a lot in common. So I'm really looking forward to this discussion.
Yes, likewise. So I proposed you to take as a theme, or you could say starting theme, marketing, because that's where you have an incredible background and expertise, but then also talk about how marketing relates to AI, or also AI in general, and how it possibly connects or relates to our own humanness and what it even means to be a human. So I know that's a big theme, and let's see what we are.
It's a big topic indeed. Yeah, very timely.
And what I thought would be interesting, because I'm sitting in front of an expert, and you have a lot of experience. What, from your point of view, what is marketing about?
Big question. I think you may have a lot of definition. For me, marketing is about creating demand for a product or a service. So it's a mixture of communication, psychology, tools that will enable someone or a company, a service, to attract more customers.
What is needed for effective marketing?
Yeah. And as I was telling you that, I remember a conversation we had where you said, "Oh my God, I don't like marketing."
Yeah, that's my personal story. Yeah.
Everything bad about what's happening in our civilization is because of marketing. And I remember telling you, yes, well, it all depends on the product, right? If
Yeah.
you're a non-profit doing marketing for a good cause, then marketing is maybe good.
Yeah.
If you are fighting for the environment and want to get more funding for your causes, more volunteer, then marketing is good. Obviously, if you are selling guns or tobacco, maybe marketing is less good. So yeah, it all depends, right?
Yeah.
But we're not here to have an ethical discussion about marketing, although it's an interesting one. You just asked me what is needed to do marketing. I don't want to be boring, but I think to be efficient in marketing, you need to start with, do I have a service or a product that meets the need of my target audience? And immediately when you say that, you ask the question, do I know my audience?
Yeah.
Right? You see a lot of companies who are convinced that they've got a solution,
Yeah.
but when they start to explore the need, they realize that nobody wants that solution. Nobody has that pain, right? So they are trying to solve something which is not an issue. And that's when marketing become bad, because they are creating a need for something that nobody actually needs. So if I think good marketing is really about, what am I trying to solve? Is there a need for this to be solved? And do I understand my target audience? Do I understand the people, the community that need that product? So it's really diving deep into understanding your audience, speaking with your client, your potential user, understanding their deepest need, and trying to see if there is a match between what you offer or what you're planning to offer and what that community needs.
Makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what I shared in or what you just referred to in our, I think, the first or second conversation, personal, you could say, experience with marketing, because I come from banking, and I had the perception, and not necessarily during when I worked there, but at the end and when I stopped it, like it seemed all great what we were doing, but what we told wasn't backed up by what we were actually doing. So there was a difference between the perception we created and communicated to the outside and what was lived within the company and as a culture and even product wise. And so what I'm understanding from you, that marketing is really a tool. No, it can be used, you could say, for good or for bad. It's just a tool, not just a knife. No, it's like a knife you can.
Yeah, I think it's a tool, but it's also it's becoming more and more a sort of a philosophy,
Philosophy.
in that marketing has changed in the last 10 years, I would say, and it's changing more and more every day because we're going to talk about AI, but even before AI,
Yeah.
with internet, customer became more engaged and customer became more central to what a company was selling. In the old days, a company was selling a product and people were buying it, and you didn't really have a choice as a consumer.
Mm-hmm.
But with the internet and mostly social media, people became to be much more powerful in deciding what product they were going to use and even dictating what feature, if you think of a software, what feature
Mm-hmm.
was important. If you think of
Mm-hmm.
a tool, food or whatever, the impact of the customer was more and more important. Nowadays, because of new regulation like GDPR in
Mm-hmm.
Europe or Californian privacy law, you see that it's becoming harder and harder to do mass mailing, to reach out a lot of people. And marketers need to think of how do they communicate with their community, with their client in a more genuine way.
Mm-hmm.
How do you engage with a group of people who are really fans of your product? I mean, ultimately, this is what you want to do. Whether
Yeah.
you sell a software or any kind of services, you want to create a community of people who really stand for your brand, like what you do, and who are going to help you build a better product. It looks a
Mm-hmm.
little bit utopist, but this is really what's happening. In the best case scenario, this is what's happening. You are going to have a user group. You are going to have communities on platform like Slack, for example. A lot of brands are using Slack and they attract thousands of users and they
Mm-hmm.
interact daily with those users who are going to say, hey, your product is great. I love it, but you should do X, Y, Z. And really you build your product up or your service with your users. And this is, I think it's fascinating, and this is where I say it's more of a philosophy
Mm-hmm.
rather than just a tool. It's not a top-down discussion. It's
Mm-hmm.
really a sort of more and more increasingly a bottom-up discussion.
So it's really a collaborative approach, like taking feedback, adjusting a product, presenting it again, getting some feedback, and the continuous iteration to improve product and ideally
Yeah,
benefit both, like the company and the client.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And you see that a lot, obviously, in the software industry. I think it's maybe easier because you're online, because your product can be easily shared with people. And you see a lot of successful startups starting with a free trial or even a free product to start
Mm.
with before they start to monetize it. And they are going to build the product, give it away free, get a lot of feedback from their community, share tips about how to best use the product, do a lot of
Mm.
videos, and engage so much that they're going to create a big community. People are going to become fan of the product, and then slowly they will start to commercialize it. Put like subscription, etc. Converting obviously free user to paid user is difficult, but it's not impossible. Uh, but they will have gained such traction if they're successful in doing that, if they
Mm.
have really a compelling product and a value proposition that really match a need, then people will be ready to pay. And this is, I think it's beautiful when you manage to to reach that stage.
And I think you made a distinction between, or you made it, you pointed out that it's very important to really understand your customer and to listen to what they really want or need. Is there a difference between the two?
Well, sometimes they want something, but they don't know they need something else. So you may want. If I take my example, I want to attract more clients to my website, for example. How do I do that? Maybe I don't know that I need a certain technology, a certain approach. And that's where someone can educate me and say, I understand your pain. Your pain is to drive more people to your website, more traffic. You think you need that, or you think the approach is this one. However, let me show you how you can better handle that. So I think this is one of the discussion. And this is where having an understanding of your market, having a channel where you can reach and have a two-way communication with your user is super important, and where building trust is important. Where and again, it's speaking to a human being. I mean, we are all human. We all have our needs. We all have our beliefs. And yes, it's business. Yes, I'm selling a product. But if I do a good job, I'm selling a product that you need, in order to do something. And if I collaborate with you, you will want my product and you will be ready to pay for it because you know that it is solving that problem that you've got. So again, it's part of, and what I love about today's world is that the technology makes it possible to have this conversation with your user and really to reach them on a one-to-one basis. Of course, you are going to automate some of that one-on-one, right? You may have very personalized email to start with. You may have a tool to sort of start a communication on LinkedIn. It may look personal when you actually automate that, but at some stage, you need to step in as a human being and you need to engage and you need to have that conversation.
You said a couple of interesting things, which I want to further explore.
Yeah.
One of them is a part of marketing is education, because what you said is that I might think I want something, but might actually need other things. So is marketing also about educating me about my own needs?
Sure. Absolutely. Marketing is about educating your audience about how to do a better job in what or how to achieve what they want to achieve, right? And you as a vendor, as a provider of a solution or a service, you are an expert, and you are here to educate a market that may not understand how to go about doing something. And I think the most successful companies are the ones that do provide that training, do provide that sort of thought leadership, sometimes stepping above what they just provide. You can have a limited offer providing a solution in one particular field, but you can actually step outside of that role and portray yourself as a speaker in around topics or subject which are broader than your little very targeted scope. So yes, I think it's part of marketing to really grab that opportunity to educate a market. It's also important if you want to gain market share to be seen as that person, and you need to do it seriously, because obviously users are going to detect bullshit, right? If you claim to be an expert but are always super high level, they are going to notice that very quickly, and it's not going to be good marketing. So if you want to embrace that role, you need to do it seriously. But I see a lot of companies that have, very high level. I'm trying to think. Intercom is a marketing automation solution, and they have a very good podcast where they interview executives, CEOs, marketers about everything related to, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing. So it's hugely broader than just the use of the tool, and it touches every aspect of an enterprise. And they get millions of listeners because they are taking this role in the industry to talk about what it is to be an entrepreneur, what it is to be growing a company. And I think it's a good example of what you can do when you start to have, enough people behind you that are interested in what you stand for. Uh, you will reach more people. It's not going to be a sales speech. And yeah, you are just educating your market.
And you just said it's not a sales pitch. What is it then? And how, before you also said, or you highlighted the importance of building trust. What's your perspective on how to do that?
Yeah, I see where you are getting. Okay. Ultimately, it is a sales tool because it's a branded podcast
Okay.
where uh, Intercom is hosting different people. So it's not a sales pitch in that we are not going to say, "Hey, Intercom is the best product, please buy it."
Hmm.
It's a branding exercise where Intercom comes across as being a brand that is able to reach a wide audience,
Hmm.
XYZ. So you are building trust in that, hey, I trust those guys because they are bringing into their podcast,
Hmm.
executive from, extremely large and respectful companies. So you see themselves associated with prestigious brand,
Hmm.
and this is where it become a trust building exercise. It's not directly a sales
Yeah.
tool. I mean, marketing is about sales, and again, this is an important item to touch on. For too long, companies have segmented and siloed marketing from sales. Today, the most mature organization really, just see that as one and the same. Marketing
Hmm.
is here in order for the company to grow its business. I mean,
Hmm.
there is no other way around it. And marketing has to be totally aligned with the sales. And the two departments need to work together. I mean, I think today it's a no-brainer, but as I say that, you will be surprised at the number of organizations that want to behave like that, but are not actually behaving this way.
And so, is then, for example, this podcast, is it what creates trust is then demonstrating your credibility or your expertise, your skills, your authority? Are those means to create trust
Yeah, I mean,
or reliability?
I think your customer trusts you when they see that you are reactive to their need,
Okay.
proactive to their want, and transparent in your communication. So being able to have communication or forums where unhappy customer have a voice and are being listened to. Um, this establishes trust because, hey,
Hmm.
every product and services have its bad day. Every software has bug. We know that, and nobody is trying to hide it. You see a lot of uh, companies that are providing a web platform where you can list bugs or ideas for improvement, and those are being voted. Other user will say, yes, I've got the same problem, and they will do a +1. or other people will say, yes, this feature would be super handy, and they will vote it as a, again, as a good feature to develop. So all that will create trust, because you have a platform where users come with their needs, come with their issues, and together with the company, they are trying to solve it. That's part of building trust.
So it's kind of seeing the actions after the maybe initial
Being listened
communication.
to. Yeah,
If they
realizing that people are listening to you, they take your point of view into account. They don't put it under the carpet, like sometimes it is the case.
and you mentioned the term branding, and you also said that marketing and sales like should or are really one thing. How does branding fit into marketing? What's the differentiation, if there is one?
Yeah, I think it's a sort of it could turn into a technical discussion. In my mind, a brand is the image or what people see about you when they think about you, when they see you in either online or in the real world. So it's going to be your logo, it's going to be your visual identity, it's going to be the tone of voice, how you write about yourself, how you talk about yourself. It's going to be even maybe music associated to your brand. In the railways in Europe, you have those little jingle that are really specific to a specific railway. So all those things contribute to the brand, and the brand, I think, should also be how people within an organization behave, but that's sort of an extra step. As an employee of a company, you are an ambassador, so you carry the brand with you, and it's the way you will answer. So yeah, as an ambassador of a brand, you will carry the brand with you wherever you go. And this is the way you will answer an email. This is the way you will answer the phone. This is the way you will talk to a customer on a trade show, etc. So the brand is really encompassing a lot of things.
So to me, that would also indicate like being clear on the values and the purpose of being transported through the brand and the image, so that.
Yeah, the very important point. You touched on the values, the mission of a company. Yes, this, and again, you see, as a company mature in their branding, in their purpose, they have a very clear value proposition. They have a very clear mission. They have a clear vision about where they want to go. And when they do that properly, their employees know how to talk about the company. They know how to portray the values of those companies. So yes, it's extremely important.
What do you make out of this quote? I don't know where it originates from. Someone mentioned it in a past podcast, and he said that many people in our society buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. Yeah. what do you make out of this quote, and possibly also how it relates to marketing or wrong marketing?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if it's so much about marketing than what makes us human. I wonder if, in the Middle Age, people were not also buying stuff just to have a certain status. So I think it's more about the position of our position in society, the rank that we want to have in society. Yesterday it was, maybe having a certain coat and a hat and something, and today it's more about having the latest iPhone and a very fancy watch, right? So those are just element of how you are going to be portrayed as belonging to a certain social class. So it's, yes, obviously, because you are going to buy those items, it's part of marketing, but above all, I think it's more of a, having a status in the society.
And you said that before, no? Like in the interaction with clients or possible clients, there might be a use case for automation in a personalized way, but then also you said at some stage you need to step in as a human. Why?
Because you're talking to human, and a machine cannot do the job for you from A to Z. Maybe the machine and the automation will enable you to reach more people in a better way. So to have a more targeted approach, but and so to bring people you might not know to your attention, but as soon as this initial interaction is created, if you want to develop trust, you need to step in as a human. You need to answer with your with your own word, and you need to show that person that there is a real human being behind the screen.
So there's a limit to automation, or also, and maybe that's a transition to start talking about AI and how it relates to marketing, or
yeah. And this is, I mean, it's a fascinating topic. We are going to talk about that, and I don't claim to have any answer here. Like a lot of marketer, we woke up a year ago with ChatGPT. It was really the first time that we all could see the impact of AI. I mean, AI has been around for a long, long time, but it was not really something that we could access easily. And with ChatGPT, it became super easy to understand the impact of it. And I've been using it from the very early days, and I was blown away by how powerful it quickly became, or more powerful, because it was extremely powerful from the start, but more exact, more accurate, more nuanced. It became throughout the months. And it really challenged me at many levels. On one level, I love to use it. I brainstorm with it. I get challenged by it. I will write something and I will ask it to improve it, to give me suggestion. So, yeah, it's a tool I use every day. And then I also wonder, what does it mean for us as human beings? Where, how far is it going to go until we lose that element of humanity which is in us? And it's super impactful at every level. In terms of interaction, yes, it's becoming so good that sometimes you don't know whether you're interacting with a chatbot, or with a human. You get phone calls in the US all the time, and I'm sure everywhere else, where you are not really sure you're talking to to a human or not until the conversation goes to a certain stage. Then you realize it's a bot. But for the first few minutes of your interaction, you are not sure. The other day, I was trying a new tool where you can clone a voice. And I cloned the voice of a client, and I had it say something. It was an invitation to a webinar, and my client was just blown away. He didn't understand how it was even possible, because the voice was like 100% his voice. And I then had him speak in Spanish, and I had a native Spanish listened to it, and that person told me, look, I mean, it's perfect, nothing to say. And the voice was the voice of
Mhm.
my client. So, even the accent was, and the tone of voice were there. So you can quickly see how this is very, very disturbing. Just it is disturbing as a fact, but it's also disturbing if you start thinking of how people could use it in a
Mhm.
non-ethical way. What does it mean for democracy? That's a very big question. You can understand that totalitarian state would love that. You can understand how politicians might be using it to trick people. But as someone who consumes news, the fact that we lose that trust is very, very important. And I don't know if everybody understands the impact of that. When you start to mistrust everything, where do you go? And I was speaking to a very intelligent young man who happened to be the boyfriend of one of my daughter, and the guy
Mhm.
is super bright. But he was telling me, yeah, I don't trust media, I don't trust what I read on the web, so I go directly to the source. I go to the politician I trust. But then if you do that, there is no counter argument, right? The role of media is supposedly to give you to challenge your belief and to say, look, this is one side of the story, but there is also another side to this story. If we don't have that anymore, what is tomorrow going to look like? Just people totally focused in their echo chamber, looking at whatever they want to look, not wanting or not trusting anything else to challenge them. To me, this is scary, and it was already starting to happen, but AI is going to make it obviously more prominent because AI will be able to generate on the fly content, videos,
Mhm.
audio. Uh, AI will be able to engage with people. AI will sort of feed itself
Mhm.
on the conversation happening. And the problem is that you may have AI talking to AI, and some experts believe that that's when the system will crash because everything will become extremely poor in quality. So that's sort of a reflection that I have got today as I am more and more exposed to AI in my own work,
Mhm.
uh, and I don't have an answer to
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, it's really interesting what you're saying. My perception or perspective on that is that you could say marketing is about creating a perception, which is ideally reflecting what it is about. And and it can be used in that way, or it can be used in another way where you create a perception which is not backed up. What you can tell someone, um, we have your best at heart, but we just care about money and we don't care about a purpose or whatever. I mean, I'm just making that up.
Hmm?
But what my point is, when I hear you sharing these examples, what AI or through AI or technology, we will be more better and better at creating a perception, and it will be more and more difficult to recognize a difference between perception and reality. Like the example you gave, something like you can use technology to have someone say something they would never say, and you might not be able to recognize it's not the person saying that, but it was made up, just the perception. And uh, I think it would be more and more difficult to differentiate between what is a perception and
Yeah.
what is real. Doesn't make any sense what I'm sharing.
It is exactly that, and this is the issue. And that's, I mean, so if you want to be optimistic, uh, I think that's when what it means to be human come into play. And I know that there are projects nowadays underway, and OpenAI as one of those projects. I think it's called the Orb, and the idea is really to find a way to identify yourself online as a human. So using blockchain technology and a scan of your iris, of your eye, uh, so the scan will create a number which will be converted in a blockchain number, and that sort of signature will enable you to say that this presence online is the presence of a human being. And this is very important if you think of a world where AI and AI agent is present, super present, then you can imagine having AI trying to play the role of a human, maybe to make more money, maybe to gain minimum wage revenues. So you can, imagine a lot of scam happening, a lot of people cheating through AI, and being able to say, oh, this is a human or this is a bot is something going to be important. So that's one me starting to think about how you differentiate human in a AI world. Then once you are able to claim to be a human, you can offer a service as a human, which is unique to a human. So you can say, subscribe to my newsletter, subscribe to my newspaper, subscribe to my service, because it's going to be provided by a human, and I'm going to give you an opinion that you are not able to get online today. I'm going to analyze news. I'm going to give you perspective. I'm going to show compassion. All those things that only human can do. So that's one approach, and it's good because we will need that. You can imagine artists going like, "Hey, I'm going to sell art, and this art has been generated by a human, by me." You can imagine a world where you can receive a tattoo done by a robot, and you know that it's going to be totally perfect because the robot will tattoo exactly what you want the way you want, but it's a machine. Or you can pay extra money and be tattooed by a human being. And you know that you might have imperfection, but at the end of the day, you have a discussion with a human, and that's the experience you want. Or you want to buy a painting and you want it to be done by a human being or whatever piece of art, right? So this, just like, artisans, those are going to be super important. It will come at a premium, and people will want to buy that at a premium in a world where everything is artificial or created by AI. Creation by human or service offered by a human will be important. You will want to speak to a therapist, which is a human therapist, not a bot therapist. Today, a lot of people are using ChatGPT and other services as their therapist, right? And they are comfortable having this discussion because they are talking to someone who is not going to judge them. But okay, I think it has its limit. And after a while, I'm sure people will also want to speak to a real human being. And so this is going to happen. But before it happens, we need to solve a super important issue, which is, how do I know that I'm actually talking to a human? And today, this is not there yet. And this is why I believe we are the turning point where democracy is at risk, for sure, for the next few months, year, I don't know, until we can find a way to prove that someone is a human.
And when you say democracy is at risk, why is that exactly? Because you could fake speeches of politicians to manipulate or influence people, or?
Yeah, because because totalitarian states don't care how and don't care if you use non-ethical means to do that.
Mm,
Democracies are weaker because we have a lot of ethical guide rail that we try to obey to, and those ethical guide rail keep us from being efficient. But this is the role of a democracy, right?
mm,
China is way more efficient at controlling its
mm,
people than the US because you've got visual, facial
mm,
recognition in the street, and whatever you do is being monitored.
mm,
In Europe or in the US, it's not here yet, at
mm,
least I hope. And yeah, it's less easy to be elected when you live in a world like that.
mm,
So AI is very good at controlling people. AI is very good at providing you with fake information and
mm,
misinformation, and that's
mm.
very, very interesting for totalitarian states, of course.
Are you fed up of being paralyzed in a corset of rules and dependencies, seeing no way out because of doubts or senselessness, bumbling along numbly in your job or just toiling away, believing that something is wrong with you, or simply swimming in the conformity soup? In other words, wasting your life waiting around? If that's the case, you came to the right place. The Art of Creating workshop is all about waking up from your trance and revealing without doubt the incredibly creative spirit lying within you, reconnecting with your unique intuition and giving you powerful creative tools that empower you to create your life regardless of the circumstances the way you love it. Big words? Yes. But not even close to the reality and possibility of you. So sign up here now, let yourself be creatively blown away and wake up to the wonder of you. And when what you said before makes to me, it makes total sense. And what came to my mind is, I don't know, when you go back a few years, a couple of 100 years back, everybody ate organic. Today, organic is exclusive, no? And a large proportion of what we have as food in our society is crap.
Right. I see what you
and,
mean. Yeah, yeah.
and so, like, the parallel, like I see from what you're saying is, now or in the future, there will be so a lot of like good content, but it's just generic. There's no heart in it. There's
Mhm.
and human created content might be, you said before, it might not be perfect, but there's something in the imperfectness of being a human, no, which is not capturable by rational algorithmic process
Yeah.
optimization. And that's one perspective I have on AI. It's, you could say, it's like a big rational mind which just recomputes everything it already knows. So it's not creating something new. It's just like, it's
Well, I think it is
putting to
great.
get, but it's putting based on what it has in terms of data. It's repackaging it, like putting it together in new ways, but it's based on what is existing. And
Yeah,
maybe
I
the
don't.
creative spark is of a human is create
I
something out
think
of
it's
nothing.
a philosophical discussion because
Yeah.
you could also argue that we are all repackaging what we learn, right, and what we
Mm,
saw, and the creativity that we put on top of something is just, yeah, we are recycling what we've learned. We have a little idea on top of it, but I don't know. And I think AI today is very close, if not already capable of creating something, obviously based on what it learned, but adding a layer to it. There is, so I described the world where you will have AI on one side and human on the other side, and people will be ready to pay premium for human. I think we are also going to see middle of the road thing, where humans are going to be AI powered, and and we will have, it won't be one or the other, it will be a mix of both. We will have implant. So our brand will be AI powered or AI enhanced. Our abilities will be AI enhanced, and the line will be totally blurred. Now, is that going to be for everyone? Is it going to be for the elites? It's a very good question. And coming back to what I was saying about, buying a service offered by human, I think this is also going to be something reserved to the elite class, people who are educated, people who have money to be able to buy it. So that is also a little bit scary, because you see that AI is indeed going to create, probably going to create a society which is more, divided, with the middle of the pack, people who are just following along, happy with what they consume on TV, the internet, etc. And people who are more educated and who are looking for this experience, human provided experience. And then a third class, maybe, or maybe it will be the majority of us, who will be AI enhanced. And where we are, and I don't know what happened there. Honestly, I don't know how you see the world once you're AI enhanced. But this is not science fiction. It's definitely something that companies are working on. You have a lot of research where people are using implant to fight neuronal disorder, like the Parkinson disease, and neural disease like that. And AI is very good at providing those patients with a better life. So it's here today, and it's when you start to think about it, it's it's slightly confusing.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic. No, I don't know what happens. But you could say AI could be the death to human creativity because it substitutes it. Why should I write something if I just type a few commands and then there comes something which might be better or might like surpass my own skill set? So why should I bother learning and developing my own creative skill set if I just can go to this chat box or whatever other tool it is? So it could mean that like our creativity will just shrink, or like there is no space, or it could be a catalyst, no,
Exactly.
to pass on repetitive tasks or things which processes which are not really creative in the truest sense, or like not
a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe that AI will do all the dirty job that you don't want to do, all the boring stuff, and free up more time to be more creative. Spend more time. If your hobby is to write or to write poetry or whatever, maybe you're unable to do that, and you want to do it without any help of AI. You just want to write by yourself because you like to do that, just like people who have who paint or whatever. So more time for hobbies, more time for pleasure. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
We also discover that the more time we have, the more work we do, right? So where is it going to stop? I don't know.
You mentioned something, no? To do poems because I like, but if that's a motivation, I might do that. If my motivation is to get recognition for producing something, I might use AI to get that very easy. And
Get a better poem, yeah.
Exactly. So depending on my motivation, I might I might use AI to do something
So
amazing, get some recognition, or
something,
but
yeah,
lose touch with who I am
something we
or what I want.
mentioned is that there is also a lot of work done around identifying AI produced content. So the day that today it's super difficult to do, and I don't think any solution is actually there 100%. But people are really working hard to try to find a way to discover an image, a video, a text, a sound that is produced by AI. And the day we do that, it will change the way people. If you want to get recognition for a poem that you did not produce, but AI produced, you put it online and someone tag it like, hey, guy, that was produced by AI. Then it loses, then you
makes
lose,
totally
right,
sense.
and you don't get the recognition.
Yeah.
So that is also something that will happen, I think. And some people won't care, like, hey, I like this poem. It's written by AI. I don't care it's written by AI. Some people will say, no, you cheated. And then, yeah.
Yeah. And what's in terms of where you are right now? You work, you're supporting companies in their marketing, also
Yeah,
strategy.
so absolutely. So my role is to be a marketing consultant.
Yeah.
I help company grow their business. I worked with a lot of international companies that are growing their business in the US. As you can hear, I've got a French accent, and I'm based in Princeton, New Jersey.
Did I pronounce your name right? Probably not.
Berteloot? You
Berteloot.
said
Okay.
Berteloot because it has two O's at the end, right?
Yeah,
But yeah,
Berteloot.
Berteloot in French.
Apologies
It's a
for
Flemish
that.
name.
Say that again.
It's a Flemish name, but
Okay. Yeah.
I think my great grandfather was from the Flanders in Belgium.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that's my work. I worked as a marketing consultant. I'm a communicator. I used to have a blog.
Yeah.
I love to experiment with new technology, and I love to help my client grasp those technologies. So, talking about ways to communicate, talking about ways to generate business, talking about everything we covered at the beginning, digital
Yeah.
marketing. It's um,
And
it's something that really interests me.
what yes, it sounds very interesting. So in your work currently, I'm not sure if that's even to be quantified, but what role does technology play and AI and automatization?
A very important role. I think it plays, it's an integrated part of my job. I couldn't work without technology.
So are you more like a systems engineer, like installing
No,
or
no, no,
helping people
but
to install a system, a marketing machine in that sense?
well, I mean, I would not limit myself to this role. The implementing a tool is important because this
Yeah,
is how you can distribute the information. This is how you can quantify what you do. So you need the infrastructure for
yeah,
sure. So implementing this tool is going to be important. But that's, again, it's just a tool. And nothing will happen if you don't have the expertise to craft a message, to do everything we
mm,
talked about at the beginning of this conversation, which is understanding your product, understanding your market, understanding how your product or service meet the need of this market, and then crafting the right message to speak to this audience. So this is really where I come into play, and I try to have a discussion with my client to understand their product, to understand how they solve a pain that their audience is having,
mm,
and then try to craft the right messages to do that. And I said technology is central, yes, because once you've done all that, you need a way
mm,
to reach your audience. And nowadays, you reach them online. even if you sometimes meet them at a trade show in person, the initial contact will be done online.
Mm.
So, and the technology is becoming more and more complex. So you need to keep, abreast of this technology. You need to understand how to use it. You need to advise your client in which tool they should use, which system to implement. Is it going to be, if you talk about a CRM or a marketing automation solution, should they go with Salesforce, with Marketo, with HubSpot? All that will depend on the size of the organization, the maturity of the organization, their own resource. So you have that expertise, which is important, but this expertise is not enough if you don't know how to understand a value proposition and really advise your customer on how to better craft their value proposition. Yeah, the way they address a need.
And I know from our conversations we had before that you had or still have your own podcast where you also really, that's what stuck with me, really explored human stories and had very interesting people as guests. And is this like, could you tell your perspective on storytelling or human stories, and what does it represent, or what does it enable?
Oh my God, big question. So the podcast is still around. Unfortunately, I didn't have any time to do any episode in the last almost 2 years now. But I did have, I mean, there are 65 episodes online. The podcast is called Back to America
Yeah.
because, very shortly, I studied in the US. I left back to France, and 25 years later, I came back with my family. And that was me coming back to America. And when I came back, I found a country that had changed a lot.
Hmm.
The country I left when I was 23 was very, very different from the country I found when I was 49, coming back to the US. And I use this podcast and those interviews as a way for me to understand what is America. And doing so through interviews of various person. I interviewed a Native American running for the election, the last elections. I interviewed people, activists working with the Black American community. I interviewed Asian American. I interviewed the uh, chief dancer of the Boston Opera. Uh, very, very different kind of person, a janitor at the Princeton University.
Hmm.
So various people from various walk of life. And you're asking me about storytelling. The way I approached all those interviews was to try to dive into what make them tick. What is important for them in their daily life, and how they identify to being American. And that is a very deep question. I mean, I know you're of German origin, right?
Yeah.
And I'm French, so we are both European. And I think the way we identify to being German or French is very different from the way an American identify to being American. So that was what I was exploring about, and I was doing that through their personal connection to the country, to the land, to how they came to the US, their ancestry. And obviously, if you ask a Native American what it is to be American, it's going to be very different from the answer a Black American is going to give you. And that makes for a very, very good story, I can tell you.
Hmm. Yeah, what I personally just really get from you, from this conversation and the conversations we had before this this emphasis and the importance of really connecting with people to understand them. And that also resonates totally what you said. That's at the beginning of any marketing, whatever instruments and tools you might apply. It's really about like understanding who you want to interact with or who you have in front of you.
Yeah, to me, it's obvious that we are all the same, that we all aspire to the same thing. Maybe I'm naive when I say that, but most of us aspire to being happy, aspire to being seen, recognized. And so if you can connect at that level, you can achieve a lot. Right? It doesn't mean that everybody is a good person, definitely not. But most of us want, have those needs. And it's important to recognize that. And I think, unfortunately, the life we live today, being so fast, so competitive, sometimes blur those lines, and we forget those realities, which are just universal realities.
Beautifully expressed. Yeah, nothing. Nothing to add. Stan, this was a really interesting conversation. Thank you for accepting the invitation and sharing from your perspectives, expertise, and
thank you. It was really a pleasure talking with you. It was very interesting to explore those topics with you. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and if you like, we can share contact information, also the link to your podcast in the description, so that everyone who is watching and listening to us can
certainly, yeah. If
more.
anybody is interested in learning more about what I do, absolutely. So you will be sharing the contact, and I look forward to interaction.
Well, Stan, yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
And let's keep in touch. And also, thank you very much to everyone listening. Stay true to yourself, and see you next time.